Hello everyone, Jak Syn here on behalf of Fiend.com and Future Daze, and today we're sitting with Florence Bullock of GlitBiter. How you doing today, Florence?
Hey, Jack, I'm doing okay. I'm surviving.
That's great to hear. I know right now things are tough, but we're trying to make the most of it.
Definitely right. Yeah, no, I feel super lucky. I still have my job. I work in IT, so there's plenty of IT support that's needed. So, yep, just getting through day by day. It's been okay.
Well, that's so great to hear. You know what? Keep on trucking along, right?
Oh, yes, for sure.
All right. So today we're going to ask you a few questions and see where it goes. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
What are your top 3 moments performing live?
Oh man, okay. Yeah, no, this is such a hard one because there's so many really awesome shows that I've played and have been super lucky to be on. First one I have to say, no, not necessarily a moment, but I I got the opportunity to open for Drab Majesty a, almost a couple of years ago now, but it was really awesome because Drab Majesty is amazing and they're a pretty big deal. And I was kind of treated like a little bit of a rock star for the first time in my life, where I was flown to Wichita, Kansas, of all places, and everything was paid for, and it was just really, really cool. So that was definitely one of the top ones. Um, let's see. I also got to open for Mr. Kitty, and this was a really cool one because it was at the Underground in at Catch One, and that's a venue in LA for those of you who are not LA people. But the Underground room had just opened at this venue, and I had never been there, and I just figured it was just a little tiny room. And when I got there, it ended up being a pretty significantly large space. So I was kind of blown away, and it was another thing about the show was I was having a lot of trouble getting my friends to show up and everything. But the cool thing was it sold out. So I just had a built-in crowd of 200 people, and just getting on stage and seeing 200 people was like one of the craziest things that I've experienced. And like, I basically didn't even have to do any promoting. It was great. So there's that. And then recently I played at the Knitting Factory in Brooklyn. And that was really cool because I got to I'm from New York originally, so a lot of my family and a lot of my New York friends came, and it was just really cool to kind of have everyone in one roof, and it felt like a very hometown show, and that was really fun. So I think I have to have an honorable mention. The Neo LA Los Angeles Synthwave Festival that was put on. My good friend Alex Bonilla came up to the front of the stage during my set in a panda head that I had given her because I own the panda head, and I nearly lost it, but I was fine. I got through it. That was definitely a significant moment and one of my favorites. So definitely have to have an honorable mention for that one.
Those sound like great memories, those experiences that have pushed you forward over your time. So being a performer, what do you feel when you're up there performing for all of these people? Like, what is the thing that you feel the most when you're up there?
Ooh, I don't know. It's funny because I don't necessarily get stage fright. I'm not scared to get in front of a crowd and perform, but I always get an adrenaline rush at first, and I was like, oh shoot, like this is kind of scary. But then after a couple minutes, it just kind of finishes. And honestly, I I'm very concentrated on kind of playing what I need to play and sing what I need to sing to the best of my ability. And I don't have a lot of time to think about anything else. So it's always a thrill to do it, but when I'm actually doing it, I don't really think about too much other than the task at hand. And there are moments where I can look and like see friends in the crowd, and that's really cool. But I almost try not to get too distracted by what's out there. And it's only kind of after the fact that I'm like, oh, that was really fun. That was really cool. So the thrill of the whole experience kind of, makes me want to do it again and again.
I'm sure that thrill comes like after you've done your TCB, you're taking care of business, you know what I mean? A little wave kind of like hits you after that once you come off and go, man, that was a really like awesome thing up there because you just gave it your all. What would you say is your favorite album/EP that you've worked on?
Definitely, I would say the EP, my first EP that I came out with. I'm very proud of that, mostly because I am the only person who touched that. I wrote it, I produced it, I mixed and mastered everything on there, and I released it and didn't know what was going to happen with it, and it was fine, and I kind of expected people to be like, oh, the production on this is so terrible, but I've never heard anyone say that. I mean, like, I guess maybe people are just being nice, but at first I was really nervous, and I was almost like embarrassed that I didn't have something that was produced as well as other people, but now, I'm really proud of it because it's an homage to what I kind of came from. It's called Short Stories EP.
I've heard it. I think it sounds great. I think the amount of work that you put into it is really, really good. When you put out something at the very beginning, it's like you may not think it's as good or maybe not the best, but then sometimes like you'll put it out and people will go, wow, this sounds really, really great. So I was like hearing that first release of yours, I thought it was really awesome.
Thank you. That's awesome to hear. And usually when you put something out that you've put a lot of work into, and you might be nervous about one particular thing, but then it turns out like people don't even care about that one particular thing. They mostly focus on the good things, the positive things. People are generally they don't go in for negativity.
Just got to put it all out on the line and just put yourself out there.
Very true.
What was the drive behind getting you into making music?
I've always been a singer. So I studied singing in college. I studied classical voice and did music theory and everything that went along with it. So I've always been kind of in that world. But and I've always wanted to produce music. And one year I was able to take a Pro Tools class in college, and that allowed me to kind of learn the basics of a DAW. And then I was like, oh, I really want to do this, but it was kind of difficult because I always kind of had this idea that I wanted to be in a band, and I didn't have anyone else to kind of help me through it. So I just was kind of sitting around thinking like, oh, well, like, I'll wait for someone to come along. But it actually wasn't until I discovered synthwave that I realized like I can just do this myself. Like everyone else in the scene does it themselves, so why can't I, So it was actually my discovery of synthwave that kind of inspired me to kind of like put a fire under my ass and just actually do it and come out with music, and then eventually perform, because that was kind of the next step. It was my discovery of synthwave that did it for me.
That was like the I guess you could say like the catalyst that pushed you even further into that creative process. And a little side note, voice is amazing. Love your voice, great voice. So if you guys out there haven't heard GlitBiter, check out GlitBiter, because this girl's voice is freaking awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, Jack.
What are you looking forward to accomplishing the most moving forward?
Coming out with new music. That's been my goal for the past few years, and it's been tough with my full-time job and everything, but it's honestly, I have a little bit more time to focus in on my music during quarantine right now, which is really, really cool. So I'm gonna definitely take advantage, and hopefully by the end of this I will have finally something new, because I want to give more to everyone. I want to be able to release more and be at least prolific, which I haven't been, but hopefully that'll change really soon. So definitely looking forward to releasing new music, hopefully playing some more shows. We'll see what the future holds.
I think right now, I think a lot of other artists are feeling the same way as you right now. We have a lot of time, and trying to use this time right now to to work on the things that we haven't had time to work on because our day-to-day schedules are so busy and we're kind of all backed up. So when you get home from work, you're like, I don't have time today, you know, but I will get to it. But now we have time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure everybody's feeling that same way, where I can finally work on what I want to work on now.
Exactly. Honestly, when I was going into work, I would get home and the last thing I want to do is work on music. And, you know, as much as I love doing it, I'm just too tired and wiped out. And like, honestly, the times when I did work on music was when I was bored, when I didn't have anything to do. I was like, well, cool. Like, I can actually go upstairs and just work on music and mess around with a synth or something. And now I'm finding that I can do that almost all the time, which is really cool. The only problem with the quarantine, I'm also finding that I'm not quite inspired because nothing's happening. So it's very, very routine right now. But even if I come up with a bunch of terrible songs, it's something. It's like, it's getting me to do something. So it's just kind of getting into a new routine and kind of relearning how to come up with new music in general. So we'll see where it goes.
And I think you're right about that. I'm sure not having as much inspiration right now because not a lot of things are happening. I think a lot of people are trying to rediscover who they are. They're looking back through memories to find inspiration for things that they want to do. For myself, it's like I'll look back through my camera roll in my phone for like a year or two and then find these memories that I like kind of forgot about. You go, well, I'm going back to that memory right now, and that's a piece of inspiration for me. Or how did I feel during that time? Like recalling these memories. I think people are digging back into their past to try to find these memories for inspiration. What positive message would you give to your fans out there?
I'm going to give more advice. I would say be nice to each other. Because lately I've seen a lot of negativity, especially on the internet, like only on the internet, because that's where everyone is, on the internet. But seriously, be nice to each other. I mean, there are a very select few people who should definitely not be around, but most of the time, you never know when someone will reach out and offer a helping hand. The only reason why people know my music at all is because of the opportunities that my friends and acquaintances have given me. And friends and just acquaintances are so important to have. So seriously, be nice to each other. It's not hard to do, and you'll be happy that you did.
Well, there you hear it, guys. You hear it out there. Be nice to each other. Offer a helping hand. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Just being nice and spreading that care. Well, thank you so much for sitting with us today, Florence. And thank you, everybody out there, for taking this time to sit with us and watch us have this conversation. On behalf of tortfeed.com and Future Daze, we thank you. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Also, be sure to like and subscribe because we have more videos on the way in this series. Thank you again, Florence. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me. Bye.